Welcome to Kuma English Listening Hub. In today's episode, we are diving into a topic that is reshaping our lives, whether we like it or not: the future of work in the age of artificial intelligence. Now, before you switch off and think, oh no, not another tech lecture, stay with me, this isn't going to be a dry technical talk. Instead, imagine you're listening to a Radio 4 documentary on a Sunday evening, with a cup of tea in hand, and we're calmly, but quite frankly, unpacking how AI is quietly slipping into almost every corner of the workplace. Let's start with a little scene. Picture a modern office in London. It's not quite the world of pinstripe suits and paper files anymore. There are open-plan desks, people wearing trainers with their suits, reusable coffee cups everywhere, and a constant low hum of keyboard tapping. At first glance, it seems rather ordinary, but look more closely. There's a customer service team using AI chatbots to handle routine questions. There's a marketing department relying on algorithms to decide which adverts you see on your phone. The HR team is using AI to sift through CVs, long before a human manager ever glances at them. And somewhere in the background, data is being crunched constantly by invisible systems that never get tired, never go home, never get utterly knackered after a long commute. This is not science fiction, this is now, and it raises a very simple but very unsettling question. What on earth is going to happen to our jobs? Let's break it down. First, we need to get past the slightly hysterical headlines. Robots will steal your job, or AI will make humans obsolete. They make for a catchy front page, but reality is more nuanced. Historically, every major technological shift has caused disruption, but it has also created new kinds of work. Think of the Industrial Revolution in Britain. It pushed millions off the land and into factories. Grim? Yes, and often brutally unfair, but it also laid the foundations for modern industry, trade, and the service economy. So today's question is not simply, will AI destroy jobs? A more intelligent question is, how will AI change what we do, how we do it, and who benefits from that change? Let's start with the kinds of work AI is remarkably good at. AI excels at repetitive, predictable, pattern-based tasks. If a job involves doing essentially the same thing, again and again, according to clear rules, then it's fair to say that job is at high risk of being automated. We've already seen this in manufacturing. Robots on factory floors have been assembling cars with astonishing precision for years, but the next wave is moving beyond the factory. Think of basic data entry. Think of call centers where staff follow rigid scripts. Think of routine document checking, like scanning standard contracts for errors. AI can do much of that faster, cheaper, and with fewer mistakes. So if your daily work can be reduced to a flowchart, or if you could, in theory, write a list of instructions that a reasonably bright computer could follow, then you might want to start thinking about how your role could evolve. Now, before you panic, let's look at the other side of the coin. The tasks and roles that are stubbornly difficult to automate. Jobs that require nuanced human judgment, emotional intelligence, creativity, or deep cultural understanding are much harder to replace. In other words, roles where being properly human is the whole point. Let's take teachers. Yes, AI can deliver content. It can mark multiple choice quizzes. It can even offer personalized feedback up to a point. But can it look a nervous teenager in the eye and say, "You're doing brilliantly, keep going, you've got this," and have that land in a meaningful way? Not really, at least not yet, and perhaps never fully. Or consider nurses. AI can monitor vital signs, alert doctors, help with diagnoses. But can it sit with an anxious patient at 2 a.m. and offer comfort, reassurance, and a bit of proper human warmth? Not convincingly. Then there are the traditionally creative professions. Writers, designers, musicians, film directors. Yes, AI can churn out music that sounds passable, generate images that are oddly impressive, or draft text that is, well, vaguely competent. But would you pay good money to watch a film knowing it had no human director? No personal vision, no lived experience behind it. It's possible, but something vital would be missing. This is where many experts believe the future of work is heading, towards a world in which humans and AI systems collaborate, rather than one replacing the other entirely. Think of it as a kind of partnership. AI takes on the grunt work, the tedious repetition, the mind-numbing bureaucracy, leaving humans free to do what they are actually rather good at. Asking awkward questions, thinking laterally, empathizing, persuading, inspiring. There's a term for this: augmentation. AI augments human capability, enhancing what we can do rather than simply making us redundant. Let's ground this in a concrete example. Imagine a solicitor in the City of London. 20 years ago, a junior lawyer might have spent endless evenings wading through boxes of documents, highlighting relevant clauses. Today, AI tools can scan thousands of pages in seconds, flag key information, and even spot patterns that a human might overlook. So, does the junior lawyer become unemployed? Not necessarily. Instead, the nature of their work changes. They spend less time doing dull, mechanical reading and more time thinking strategically about the case, advising clients and making judgment calls. Of course, this is the optimistic version of events. In practice, some firms might be tempted to simply reduce headcount and let the remaining staff work longer and harder. After all, if the software can do half the job, why keep as many people on the payroll? And here we bump into the social and political dimension of AI in the workplace. Technology doesn't exist in a vacuum. It reflects the values, laws, and power structures of the societies that deploy it. The question: will AI create or destroy jobs? Cannot be answered without asking, who controls the technology? Who owns the data? Who gets the profits? Let's be blunt. If AI is used merely as a cost-cutting tool to squeeze every last penny of profit out of the workforce, then we may well see rising inequality, precarious employment, and a large number of people feeling, quite reasonably, that the future of work looks grim. On the other hand, if governments, businesses, and workers' organizations engage seriously with this transformation, AI could enable shorter working weeks, more flexible careers, and work that is, dare I say it, more meaningful. In Britain, there's already talk of a 4-day working week becoming the norm in some sectors. If AI can boost productivity substantially, then in theory, we could produce the same economic output with fewer human hours. The question is whether we use that gain to increase profits alone, or to give people more time for family, creativity, community, and rest. And that brings us to skills. If you're an English learner listening to this, perhaps you're wondering, what should I actually do to prepare for this AI-shaped future of work? Let's be practical. First, digital literacy is non-negotiable. You don't have to become a programmer, but you do need to be comfortable using digital tools, understanding how data is used, and being able to learn new software quickly. Second, so-called soft skills are becoming hard currency. Communication, collaboration, problem-solving, leadership, cross-cultural competence, these are the things machines struggle with and humans excel at when properly trained. Third, lifelong learning is no longer a nice extra. It's essential. The days when you could do a degree in your early 20s and coast on that knowledge until retirement are frankly over. The world is changing too quickly. You'll need to retrain, upskill, and reskill throughout your career. If that sounds exhausting, you're not alone. Many people feel overwhelmed by the pace of change. It's perfectly human to think, blimey, can we just slow down for a moment? But here is a more hopeful way of looking at it. AI is forcing us to ask, what does it actually mean to live a good working life? What do we want from work beyond a payslip? Do we want status, purpose, creativity, social interaction, or simply enough time and money to enjoy life outside the office? In the 20th century, British culture often revolved around stable, long-term jobs. You might join a company in your 20s and stay, more or less, until you retired. That world has been eroding for decades, and AI may well accelerate the shift. Instead, the younger generation in the UK increasingly expects a portfolio career, moving between roles, mixing employment with freelance work, side projects, and maybe even starting small businesses on the side. AI can either lubricate this flexible future or make it more precarious, depending on how we manage it. Take creative freelancers, for example. AI tools can help them design logos, draft copy, edit videos, and reach global audiences at the click of a button. Brilliant. But at the same time, they may find themselves competing with cheaper AI generated content, racing to the bottom on price. So, the emerging challenge is differentiation. What makes your work distinctly human? What gives it a voice, a style, and authenticity that no algorithm can convincingly imitate? For many British professionals, this may mean leaning into the very things that make them, well, themselves. Regional accents, personal stories, cultural references, humor, a certain dry wit, a bit of self deprecation. In other words, all the quirks that would be ironed out of a machine generated text. From an English learning perspective, this is actually rather good news. The more global and automated work becomes, the more premium is placed on sophisticated, nuanced, real world communication skills. If you can hold your own in a complex discussion, negotiate with subtlety, present ideas persuasively to an international team, and write with clarity and personality, you are far less likely to be replaced by a piece of software. You might even find yourself working alongside AI every day, using it as a tool, much like a calculator or a spreadsheet, while you focus on the human side of the job. Let's zoom out now and look at the bigger ethical questions. One of the great fears about AI and work is that entire communities could be hollowed out. Think of towns in northern England that once relied heavily on coal mining or heavy industry. When those industries collapsed, many places were left behind, with high unemployment and few opportunities. We risk repeating that story if we allow AI to decimate certain sectors without putting robust support in place. Retraining programs, public investment in new industries, and serious regional development. This is why some people talk about a just transition for workers affected by automation, similar to conversations around the green transition in response to climate change. The idea is that people shouldn't be treated as collateral damage in the march of progress. After all, it's no good telling a 50-year-old lorry driver whose job is threatened by self-driving technology to just learn to code. That's not only patronizing, it's unrealistic. Instead, proper support is required: financial, educational, and social. This is where public policy, national culture, and even trade unions come in. It's all very well for tech companies to say, "We're changing the world," but someone has to pick up the pieces when that world is disrupted. In the UK, there is already lively debate about how to tax AI-driven companies fairly, how to regulate algorithms, and how to ensure that workers have a say in how new technologies are introduced in the workplace. None of this is sorted yet, but it's encouraging that the conversation is happening. So, where does that leave you? Sitting there with your headphones on, polishing your English at a very high level. It leaves you with both a challenge and an opportunity. The challenge is clear. You will be working in a labor market that is, to be honest, rather unforgiving to those who stand still. You will need to adapt, refine your skills, and stay alert to changes in your field. The opportunity, however, is equally clear. You have access to more information, more learning tools, and more international connections than any previous generation. You can collaborate with someone in London, Lagos, and Lima on the same project, all from your laptop. If you are keen on continuous learning, you're already ahead of the curve. So, how can you turn this listening practice into something practical for your career in the AI era? Here are a few ideas. First, build your vocabulary around technology, work, and business. Notice phrases like "to be at high risk of automation," "to augment human capability," or "a just transition." These are the kinds of expressions educated professionals use in English-speaking workplaces. Second, practice explaining complex topics simply. Try summarizing this episode in your own words, as if you were talking to a colleague over coffee. If you can do that clearly and confidently, Your communicative competence is genuinely world-class. Third, reflect on your own future of work. Ask yourself, which parts of my current or desired job are most likely to be automated, and which parts rely on my uniquely human strengths? Then, invest your learning time accordingly. And finally, remember this: technology is powerful, but it is not destiny. AI doesn't decide how it will be used. People do. Societies do. Governments, companies, and workers do. So when you hear someone say, well, it's all decided, the robots are coming for us, you can politely disagree. The future of work is not a fixed script. It's something we are, collectively, in the messy process of writing. And if you're improving your English at C2 level, listening to long-form content like this, you are equipping yourself to be part of that conversation, not just a passive observer. Right. Let's leave it there for today. If your brain feels a bit full, that's perfectly normal. This is dense, challenging material, but if you follow the thread, even with a few gaps, you're doing brilliantly. Thanks for listening to Kuma English Listening Hub. Take a moment to review the key ideas in your own words. Maybe jot down a few new phrases, and if you like, listen again tomorrow and see how much more you catch. Until next time, take care, keep learning, and remember, the future of work is not something that just happens to you. It's something you can help shape.